Hola y'all, it's Jessie here to bring you another great holiday dish. Thanksgiving and Christmas are just not the same without a homemade pecan pie, so let's make one. We're gonna make our crust first. I'm gonna start with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Add 1 teaspoon of salt. Give that a good mix. All right, the next 2 ingredients are super important. We're gonna use 2/3 of a cup of vegetable shortening, Crisco, and 6 tablespoons of very cold butter. This is a secret to a very flaky crust. It's gonna go right in. I have cut my 6 tablespoons of butter into teeny tiny little squares, just like that, so that they can incorporate easier in my flour. And I'm gonna use my hands to do this. Now that I've worked the butter and the shortening into the flour mixture until it looks like this, very crumbly, we're gonna slowly add 1/2 cup of ice water just until it comes together and forms a dough. This makes 2 crusts. And just as the dough starts to form and get to where it can stick together like this, we're gonna flour the table and work the dough. So we have our dough formed in the bowl, and I'm just gonna sprinkle some flour on my table and knead it just a little bit. I'm just gonna cut this dough in half because this makes 2 pies. I'm gonna put them in plastic wrap and I'm gonna let them sit in the fridge for 2 hours. After my pie crust have sat in the fridge for 2 hours, then I'm gonna show you how to make this amazing pecan pie. Okay, so my pie crust has been chilling in the fridge for a couple of hours, and now it's time to roll it out and finish this delicious dessert. I'm just gonna take some all-purpose flour and put it on my cutting board. I've got my glass pie plate here, and I'm gonna roll my dough out to match the size of the pie plate, about 9 inches. I've got my pie crust completely in my glass pie plate, and I know it doesn't look perfect. You can definitely make that more beautiful if you would like, but I kind of want people to know that I made it from scratch. So it's not gonna be like store-bought or completely perfect, but it is gonna be amazing and delicious. Look at those spots of butter. It is gonna be so decadent. Now let's make the filling. I'm starting with 1 cup of white granulated sugar. Next is 3 tablespoons of light brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 3 eggs, I'm getting pretty good at this egg cracking business. Before I add any of my other ingredients, I want to cream and mix well the sugar and the eggs. And I don't feel like getting out my mixer, so I'm just going to use the paddle and do it by hand. It'll be like a mini workout. Plus, I can show you this way. We're now ready to add 1 cup of light corn syrup. This stuff is so sticky. I have a funny story with Karo syrup. When I was a teenager, my brother wanted to go fry something at my sister's house, and he thought that Karo syrup was vegetable oil. So he poured a pot full of Karo syrup and tried to fry something. Yeah, it burned. It was bad. 3/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And last, but certainly not least, the star of the show, chopped pecans. I just took some pecan halves and I chopped them up myself, and I'm gonna add them right in. I'm gonna reserve just a few to put on top. Mix really well with it. Okay, now it's time to pour into our pie crust. You can make this as decorative as you like. You can do a whole layer of chopped pecan halves, and I've seen some really beautiful pecan pies, but I just want to add another sprinkling of chopped pecans on top. And before I put it in the oven to bake, I did crack 1 more egg, and I'm gonna do a little bit of an egg wash on that outer crust to make it beautiful, glossy, doesn't dry out, and brown. I'm just gonna paint that on. Our pecan pie is ready to go in a 350-degree oven, and I'm gonna check it at 45 minutes. I forgot an ingredient in the pecan pie. 5 1/3 tablespoons of butter. So I'm going to cut this up, and I'm gonna pull out the pie, and I'm gonna dot it all over the top of this pecan pie and just hope that it works. But in the recipe, I will have it listed correctly with the correct steps. Okay, so I had to let it sit for a little while, so we've already had dinner and everything, but let me take a bite for you. It's still warm. Amazing. You have to make it. You have to. Adios.